Okay, so the word retroperitoneal means behind the body wall. So the kidneys are located retroperitoneally, basically in your lower back right there. The pararenal fat is just fat that would be on this model, but it's not on this model, but it's fat that covers the kidney. You can see it on an APR. The renal capsule is this outer kind of dark brown shell. On here it's this one. The hilus, remember in the lungs we had the hilus, and it's where everything was entering and exiting. So it's the same thing in the kidney. It's the area of the kidney right here, this region where everything's going in or out. So this is a hilus.
This specifically?
No, this area right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this whole region. I'd say what's the region, so you know I'm not pointing at this. The cortex is the outside of the kidney, so all this, you see these arteries here that make these little arcs? Everything outside of those arteries is the cortex. Everything inside of them is the medulla. Around here, this would be the cortex out here, and the medulla is in here.
Where's the cortex on that?
Just the outside. Everything on the outside of these little arcing arteries. In the medulla, you have the pyramids. They're these things that look kind of triangular. All these are pyramids. And they end in a little point, which is called the papilla.
Where are the pyramids on there?
This triangle.
Oh, okay.
And then the papilla is the point. I'm going to go a little bit out of order just so that, from your book, so that it can be in order on the model. From each papilla, you have this little tube coming out. Each little tube is called a minor calyx. So minor calyx, minor calyx, minor calyx. On here, you even have like a little minor calyx sticking up, so you know there's pyramids like all 3D around here. So minor calyx, minor calyx. When the minor calyces join together, then it becomes a major calyx. Then there's a major, here's a major. And then when the major calyces join together, it becomes the renal pelvis, and that goes out to the hilus, and it heads down towards the bladder. Once it's out of the hilus, it's now a ureter going towards the bladder. And that's actually easier to see on the chart, which we'll do in a few minutes. Where am I? Okay, nephrons are the functional unit of the kidney, so they filter blood, and they make something called filtrate, which is then going to go through a whole big long process that we'll talk about in lecture, and eventually become urine that you will get rid of. These things, see these yellow things right here? These are nephrons. So they have these little tubes that go all the way down to nephron. They start with a little ball, and then there's a little tubule, and then it goes down and out through the papilla into the calyces. Here's kind of a close-up shot of nephrons. So this would be a nephron. There's a nephron. There's a nephron. Here also, different model, same thing, 2 nephrons. In the nephron, you have these little red balls, are right here, or here you have it blown up. These are a ball of capillaries that starts the filtration of the blood. They have a capsule around them. Well, first of all, the whole thing is called the renal corpuscle for these balls. So renal corpuscle involves this capsule, which is called the Bowman's capsule right here. So this is the Bowman's capsule. The ball of capillaries on the inside is called the glomerulus. Bowman's capsule, glomerulus. So blood comes in through the glomerulus, is filtered out through the capillaries, and fills up the Bowman's capsule. So you end up with this filtrate filling the Bowman's capsule. Then from the Bowman's capsule, that filtrate is going to flow into this part of this tube. This is called the proximal convoluted tubule. Or if you look on here, there's your glomerulus. Here's your proximal convoluted tubule. The proximal convoluted tubule leads into this, which is called the loop of Henle. There's a descending limb. So we have proximal convoluted tubule, goes down to the descending limb of the loop of Henle, then up through the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. And then the distal convoluted tubule is this one. And from the distal convoluted tubule, you go into the collecting duct. Then it goes through this tube, which strangely enough just isn't on your list, so you don't need to know it, but it goes down here. That exits out through the papillae and into the minor calyx, major calyx, etc. Where am I? Okay, the blood vessels. The renal artery is this one. Branches into the segmental artery, which is that one. All these arteries that go between the pyramids are called the interlobar arteries. All these little ones that separate the medulla from the cortex are called the arcuate arteries. right there. And then here's a close-up of those. That would be the arcuate artery. So out here is the cortex. Down here is the medulla. From the arcuate arteries, you go to the interlobar arteries, or the new book is calling them the cortical radiate artery, whichever one you want. So all these little guys radiating out here. See the cortex with those. And then see these little tiny ones right here? Or on this model, it's these little tiny ones right here. These are the afferent arterioles. So they come off the interlobular artery. The afferent arteriole then leads to the glomerulus. Or here it is big. Here's an afferent arteriole going into the glomerulus right here. The efferent arteriole comes out of the glomerulus, and it's this one right here. The peritubular capillaries, I know it's really only okay on this model, but see all these little capillaries all over the tubule? Those are the peritubular capillaries. Ignore the vasa recta for right now. We'll talk about that in lecture, but you can't really see it very well on the model, so I'm not going to do it. And then the veins are exactly the same as the arteries. So if you know the arteries, you know the veins. They're just blue, so same thing. And then the last thing is the juxtaglomerular apparatus. I like it on this one. See how this is the same exact thing as this, but it's got a little bit more detail going on in here. So this would be the glomerulus, this would be the Bowman's capsule, proximal convoluted tubule, afferent arteriole, efferent arteriole. In the afferent arteriole, you have this kind of lump of cells. This little clump of cells is the juxtaglomerular cells. And then right next to it is another group of cells, which is called the macula densa. And that's actually part of the distal convoluted tubule, but you can't see the distal convoluted tubule on here. So juxtaglomerular cells, macula densa.
Which one are the? Oh,
So the cells and the macula densa.
like the yellow, or just like the whole structure?
Yeah, the whole
Okay.
flop there. Yeah.
And this is the tube.